All right, I wanted to talk to you today about my perspective on the Rob Porter resignation. You no doubt now have heard in the press about Rob Porter resigning just really almost on an overnight basis because of allegations of abuse of at least a couple of his wives. I'm not going to talk with you about whether General Kelly should have got rid of him on the front end, whether General Kelly should have not said good things about him. I'm not going to talk to you about that. You know, the pundits are going to beat their brains out really going over that. I want to talk to you about something that's manifestly more important than whatever you think about General Kelly. And that is about men striking women. You know, Porter came out right after these allegations were really announced, and you know, he said, "Look, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. These are all they're just wrong." And you know, I don't know whether he's innocent or not. He knows, and his wives know. But here's what I want you to understand. There is literally never, ever, ever a circumstance in which a man ought to be hitting a woman. There just isn't. We know now by seeing the pictures that came out, and I understand now there's some reporting that Rob Porter said, I took those pictures. But we know from the pictures that this wasn't a shoving match. You don't get black eyes from shoving matches. You get black eyes because somebody struck you. This is really important to me because I've got two boys. And one of my boys has two boys. And so in the Scott household, one of our standards is we don't hit women. And really, that standard ought to apply to every single household in the world, not just the United States. It ought to apply worldwide. We really should not be having a conversation like this, yet we are. Let me tell you why this is so important. I came to Knoxville, Tennessee in 1964. Me and three brothers and my mother. We came to Knoxville in a car in 1964 with every physical possession that we had inside that car. We found us a place to live. And for the first period of time, and I candidly can't tell you, was it a month or 2 months, a week, 3 weeks? I can't tell you. We slept on blankets on the floor. You know what? We were really, really happy because we slept on blankets on the floor. Not because we slept on blankets on the floor. I was 10 years old. It wasn't like camping out. I don't mean it like that. But you know what wasn't happening? Is my mother and us kids weren't being beaten. Because you see, my father thought that it was okay to strike women. He thought that there were circumstances when you could get so mad it was okay to strike women. He thought the same thing about his kids. I'm here to tell you that it is not okay. There are no circumstances. It is not okay for men to be striking women. I've taught my sons that because I never, ever want their wives to live in fear. You know, my mother was a very strong person. She was very strong. In fact, truly, probably the strongest woman that I know. Now, I'm prejudiced, I understand, because I love my mother. But she was willing to risk everything in 1964 to get out of that environment so that her family, her children, could have a life where there was nothing but love. And you know, I'm very, very pleased that she made that decision. Can I tell you that I remember a night where we went to another house and crouched down beside the bed. We crouched down in between the bed and the wall so that if this abuser, who happened to be my biological father, if he came and he beat on the door, he couldn't tell anyone was home. He couldn't tell that we were there. I share that with you, and I've really not shared that before. But I share that with you because I want you to understand what this means when we as a society decide it's okay to strike women. Don't do that. Guys, there is never, ever a circumstance in which you should be striking women. You can't get mad enough to do it. There simply is no justification. You just can't do it. Can I share this with you? If you're drinking alcohol and that causes you to get mad enough to strike your wife or strike your girlfriend, then you've got a drinking problem. Understand that we cannot tolerate this. If you have a daughter, do you want her to get married and be in an environment where her husband strikes her? You see, there's none of us as dads. There's none of us as dads that would want our daughter to live in an environment where their husband strikes her. And you got to get it in your mind that that's the way you need to see this. Because if you do, I think if you see it as your daughter being the one that's being hit, I think that maybe, just maybe, you'll make sure that it doesn't happen. And if the alcohol is driving this, then you need to man up. Get some help. Look, I'm not holier than thou. I'm just telling you from my life experiences, you cannot ever allow this to happen. You will not become more of a man. It won't be okay when you say you're sorry. When you promise you won't ever do it again, that won't be okay. You've got to decide never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, am I going to strike my wife? Am I going to strike my girlfriend? I believe that we as men need to decide that's how we're going to raise our children. We're not going to let our children come to an understanding that it's okay to do this. We have to drive a stake in the ground because, you see, it's you and I that are deciding what our kids will think later on, what they will think is okay. What they see you do, they will believe it's okay. Don't ever let that happen. I want that for you. I want your wife to always feel secure, to know that you'll never strike her. I don't want her ever to have the fear of wondering if today, the day, he's going to hit me. I say this to you from the bottom of my heart. I normally do business advice, bankruptcy advice, probate advice, tips. That's what I normally do on this channel. But today, this is so important. I wanted to share from my heart to your heart. And I hope that you will hear this in the way it is given. I don't want you to ever have this experience. You know, Rob Porter's career, at least in the White House, is over. And you know, this mark on him will continue forever. But the worst part is his wives, now ex-wives, have to live with that memory. Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you doing that. I hope that you will find this helpful. I hope that it will spur you to make sure that in your family, this doesn't happen. Hope your day's great.